Well, good morning. Better to be in church than the best jails in town. Yeah, it's just good. Yeah. Air conditioning. Imagine that. You know, I grew up in churches, they didn't have air conditioning. You know, we don't have air conditioning at the camp, so I'm glad to come to church. Oh, dear. Bless their hearts. We are, Steve was, and the worship team were singing about will, make thy will thy. I was thinking about this little line back dun that I had, little horse that, one of the first horses we ever had. Actually, he was the first horse we had, and then the other horses came out after that. He never gave me one bad day. He lived into his late 30s, and I don't know if you multiply that by horse years, what that would turn out to be, but he was old as dirt. But you could get on him, and every day, what you asked of him, he would do. I coveted that in my life, that I could be like Prince. It's funny, eh? Little horse, minding his own business, doing what you asked, day after day after day. I just want to do what he wants me to do. Whatever he saddles me with. Pardon the pun. It's good to see you, Gail. Yeah, it is. Out of jail. It's kind of okay, some adjustment here, some adjustment required.
Sure, it's hiding it. Oh, for Pete's sake. What does Marie do with you?
Don't ask. Don't ask, don't tell. Well, this morning I want to talk about, and I know I did some of these things last year, I think in the summer in the parking lot. But I'd like to go back. I was sitting there teaching archery to some kids at these school groups that come. And it dawned on me how important it was what I was talking about. Everything that we do is like an onion. There's all kinds of layers to it. Layers, layers, layers. When Jesus began to talk about the Beatitudes, can you imagine how many layers, layers, layers there are there? It's phenomenal. He was the teacher of teachers, King of kings, Lord of lords. He was phenomenal. So what I want to talk about is 7 straight polished arrows. It's going to take us a while. The first thing I'll start with this morning is focus. These are some things I just want you to think of. These arrows are by design. You are by design. Every last one of you. Don't get up in the morning and say, I wish I wasn't me. Stop it. You're the only me we got. You are by design who you are. You're going to get through it. You're going to work it through. It's part of the shaping. We're all a product of what we've gone through and who we are. We're a product of all those things. And he sits there and he polishes that arrow. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes he straightens it. We'll get to some of those things. It isn't always easy. And then we talk about responsibility. Every arrow has a responsibility. They're in his quiver. His quiver. You're in his quiver. With authority. When you fire from that bow, there's an authority to that twang. You feel that, you hear that string, and it goes, everything stops. Everything looks. The kids, that's when it hit me, that when they were sitting there at the school group, and this one kid, he shot his arrow, and there's just a little piece of paper like this. And all of a sudden, you could hear the sound of the arrow going into the paper, and it went whack. Everybody stopped and looked, and they realized he'd hit the paper. It was his third shot. I have no idea where this is all going to go. Did you know that there's only 2 moving parts to archery? It's only a matter of time before you're placing. There's only 2. When you put your arm out like this, it never changes. Not ever. When you anchor that string in the corner of your mouth, it never changes. When you put that anchor foot here at the line, it never changes. Now, if you want to go left or right, there's only one thing you can do. You can move that back foot. That's the only thing. Moving part 1. Moving part 2, this is your hinge. You can move it down or you can move it up. But you can't move your bow up and down. Right? It never changes. You move this up, or you move it down. It works on that hinge. There's only 2 moving parts. If you're shooting too far to the left, move it right. If you're shooting too far down, move it up. It's one or the other. It's not rocket science. It's a pretty cool system. And the authority of that thing hitting the paper. The authority of that thing hitting where it goes. Establishing, you sat there and this is what you wanted it to do, and it did it. And how that affects people around you. The authority. No quitting. When you step up to do something you've entered in to start, your fingers get so sore. You might even get some blisters. I'm getting so I can't even shoot my recurve bow because it hurts my back. So I'm part of the crossbow gang. Don't judge me. Just stop it. Stop it. Don't quit. Don't you quit. You tell me one place where Jesus quit. You tell me one place where Paul quit. Do you remember when he sat there and he said, everybody in Asia left me? Everybody. When Jesus sat there and he said, everybody left me. Could you not wait with me 1 hour? No quitting. Somebody looked at me the wrong way. You know, I was taking a bunch of kids down to the river yesterday during the stay over. And this little girl turns and she says, Dave, he keeps looking at me. Oh dear. So I said, stop looking at her. And, well, where am I going to look? Let me think. There's 2 sides to the band. Anyway. Sharing. We're going to talk about sharing. You know, when someone comes over and they pick up your bow, that you've got all the sights just perfectly set. That little back string is sit there for your trigger, not anybody else's, for your trigger. It's all set up just for you. And somebody sits there and says, "Can I shoot your bow?" And you want the first word that's kind of coming up your throat is no. Because I've got my sights are all perfect. Everything's ready. I don't want you to bump it. And we learn to share. What is the point of being on the planet if you keep it all to yourself? What if Jesus had never come? Stayed where he was, comfortable, air conditioned, everybody doing what he wants them to do. He didn't have to, he wanted for nothing. Not so when he came as a little baby. He sure wanted his mom to change him. Can you imagine the God of glory wanting somebody to change him, clean him up? Can you imagine the God of glory being thirsty and hungry? And finally we get down to number 6, will be freedom. Oh, the freedom. The sense of watching that arrow fly through the air. Hit what you intentionally, purposely aim for. Oh, the joy. And the 7th, success. The world has no idea what that means. Never has, never will. Success. God knows what success looks like. In your life, in your kids' lives, in your neighborhood's life, he knows what it looks like for our country. And these are the verses that I came from. And this is from Isaiah 49. This is from the NIV. And then I'd also like to read it from the Message. In the shadow of his hand. In the shadow. Can you imagine being out on a hot day? In the shadow of his hand, he hid me. He made me into a polished arrow. He gave me success. He made me into the father that I needed to be. He made me into the husband that I needed to be. He's helping me right now as a pastor. He. And concealed me in his quiver. Can you imagine? The greatest archer in the world walks out on stage in the moment. NBC is covering it. CTV, CBC, I don't care. All of them. Okay, fine. And here in his quiver is this little guy called me. Hidden in his quiver. Oh. Do you know him? Are you in his quiver? Do you remember that you're in his quiver when you're going through things? Do you forget? Did you think that you were unhidden, that you weren't there in his quiver? He said to me, "You are my servant." The greatest archer that ever stepped out, and I could carry his quiver, that I could sit there and, I don't know, I carry a second bow. I don't know, what do I do? Whatever he asks me. In whom I, he says, I will display my splendor. He's going to display his splendor through you. How was your Tuesday? Splendorous. How was your Friday? Splendorous. It was the pits at work, but it was splendorous. In the Message, it says, he kept his hand on me, kept it. I will never leave you. No, don't you sit there and say he left me. It's not true. He kept his hand on me to protect me. There's times when I have wished as a kid, he kept me from certain things. That little verse, saving me, keeping me from all of sin and shame. Wonderful is my Redeemer, praise his name. It's that saving me, keeping me from all sin and shame. Oh, I'll tell you, there's been times when he's kept me from stuff. With his hand, never leaving me, never forsaking me. He kept his hand on me to protect me. It's what I pray over my kids every day, my grandkids every day. Kids from my camp family, kids that I have that comes up on it reminds me every day, Gail, your list that comes up, that list that comes up to protect me. He made me. Boy, I have some crookeds. I could have started today out, there was a crooked man who walked a crooked path. We could have started, we're all bent. We're all bent. Sorry. But he making us straight arrows and hid me in his quiver. He said to me, you are my dear servant. I want to hear those words from Jesus. Enter thou good, thou faithful servant. He's going to give me a high five and say, good shot, Dave. Good shot. You're my dear servant, through whom I'll shine. He's shining through you at work. Oh, I didn't feel like it. Well, so. Little guy at camp says, yeah, I don't believe in God. And I said, I'm sorry. He's still there, but I'm sorry you don't believe in him. I said, that's like saying you don't believe in the sun because the clouds are there. Through whom I'll shine. Okay. All right. Here we go. Now, I want you to take, can I move here, Steve? Can I do this? Where's Steve? Yes, I can do this? Okay. So I want you to take your thumb. I want open both your eyes and look at the cross. Put your thumb up there. And so you're aiming with your thing. Like, you ready? Got both your eyes open. Put it underneath the center of see the place where the cross, two things come together? Put your thumb right there. Close your right eye. Open both eyes. Close your left eye. Open both eyes. Which eye did the cross stay at the right spot? Whichever eye it stayed at the right spot is your dominant eye. There are lots of people who write with their right hand but play golf, tennis, hockey with their left hand. It's their dominant side. It's their dominant eye. I would suggest and propose to you that your dominant eye, I'm going to try and But this point through is that your dominant eye is your spiritual eye. And that the other eye, just leave it for the world. You will seek me, and you will find me when you seek me with all of your heart. You can tell that to any of your friends. You can take that to the bank. If you seek God with all of your heart, you will find him. We need to have an eye for God. Make God your target for your spiritual dominant eye. So this is Paul talking. I'm not saying that I have this all together, that I have it made, but I am well on my way reaching for Christ, who has so wondrously reached out for me. Friends, don't get me wrong. By no means do I count myself an expert in all of this, but I've got my eye on the goal or target, where God is beckoning us onward to Jesus. I'm off and running, and I'm not turning back. Paul's not quitting. Boy, if anybody ever had an excuse to quit, that cruise that he was on, it really didn't turn out great. And there's so many times, accommodation a couple of times in those hotels, in stocks and bonds. And anyway, it wasn't, they had some tough sides to us. So let's keep focused, there's that word, on the goal, target. Those of us who want everything God has for us. If any of you have something else in mind, something less than total commitment, God will clear your blurred vision. We've got you surrounded. You'll see it yet. Now that we're on the right track, let's stay on it. Stick with me, my friends. Keep track of those you see running the same course, headed for the same target. Keep track of each other. Keep track of each other. Keep praying for each other. Keep looking for each other. Keep seeing each other. When you see somebody at the grocery store, it's my brother, it's my sister, that's my fellow partner. It's an archer friend of mine. There are many out there taking other paths, choosing other targets, and trying to get you to go along with them. I sat there and said to a little guy this week, I'm sorry to have so many camp stories, that's all I got right now. This little guy, man, these guys, the staff were going to kill them. Just kind of have 3 little shallow graves out behind the camp. I don't know if you maybe cut that out later, Steve, or not, sorry. So I thought I should talk to them. So I divided them. I put them in separate places and sat and had a chat with them. And I said, I can tell your future. I said, I can tell your future by your friends. And I said, your friends aren't good. I said, you're making choices that are going to affect you way out there. And I said, when we're doing archery, if you aim for that target, right on. But I said, if you have your arrow is 2 inches off at 20 feet, you're going to be almost 2 feet off when you get up to the target. It doesn't seem like much. It doesn't seem to matter today. But I said, the things that you're doing today could matter the rest of your life. I said, you're on a collision course. It's not good where you're going, and everybody's telling you, but you're not listening. The counselors are telling you, your other campers are telling you, but you're not listening. One little guy sat there, and I just thought I was going to bawl my eyes out. I said, what are you going to do when you leave camp? He says, Dave, you don't understand. The school I'm in is in a really bad district. All I got is bad friends. I said, can you change schools? I said, I did that one time with some kids that were in a different spot. And they let them change schools, but their mom had to drive 20 minutes to hook up with the other bus. He says, my mom's already got 3 jobs. Dad's gone. What are we going to do? So we commit them to the Lord. And I said to him, gave him my email. And I said, if you need us, I said, Maria and I will answer. We'll do what we can. So when you're on the school bus, or when you're going to school this week, this year, this winter, you see somebody that needs something. See somebody coming to school and they've got a long ways to walk and they're in a pair of running shoes. See if you don't have a pair of something warm for shoes that you kind of put somewhere close to where they would be and say, those are yours if you want them. Doesn't sound like much, does it? One good friend. One good thought. This kid said, if I just had one good friend. So I said to him, I'll be the best friend I can. When he left, he said, Dave, I don't want to go. I said, you can do this. I said, you can change this. I said, you listen to your teachers real good. You get your classes. You get your education. You get yourself some options. And I said, every day, you tell the Lord, okay, Lord, I'm going to school today. I need a good friend. And I said, there's got to be a good friend in that whole school somewhere. We're going to bank on that. We're going to count on that. We're going to believe for that. We're going to pray for that. So today, and every day, I said to him, don't you ever believe that there's one day that goes by that I don't pray for you. When we say we are praying for somebody, we need to remember, well, I can't remember. So it's in my Outlook, and it comes up every day, reminds me. But this is pretty fresh. I'm sorry I took so long with that. There are people who are trying to draw other people away from the course. When you're sitting there focused on the real target, when you're focused on what should be, when you've got the right thing that you're supposed to have focused on, when you're sitting there and you're ready for the right focus, there's somebody that wants to distract you. Shoot this, shoot that, shoot this. Shoot. Oh, if you shot this, everybody would think you're a hero. If you shot that, oh, everybody would laugh. Oh. Until you don't know where to shoot. You choose. You choose to shoot where the Lord wants you to shoot. But there's far more to life for us. We're citizens of high heaven. We're waiting the arrival of the Savior, the Master, Jesus Christ, who will transform our earthly bodies into glorious bodies like his own. He'll make us beautiful. Do you not get that? It's a miracle. I'm going to be beautiful. Oh, you're beautiful. Nobody ever says that to me. Nobody walks up, Dave, you're beautiful. Nobody ever. Never. Not once. You wait. Heaven, we'll wait. Yeah, go over and see beautiful Dave. I don't know. He'll make us beautiful and whole with the same powerful skill by which he is putting everything as it should be under and around him. My dear, dear friends, I love you so much. I do want the very best for you. You make me feel such joy. Fill me with such pride. Don't waver. Stay on track. Steady in God. Philippians 3, verses 12 to chapter 4, verses 1. Well, too many stories. Ephesians 6 and 12, I'd like to leave with this for this morning. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. When I was little, I would hear kids at school saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. We've all heard that. Recently, I was thinking about this, and I realized that what was being implied was that the physical things that can hurt me, but the impact of words, they can't hurt me. Well, of course, we know this couldn't be further from the truth. Because words, although they can't be physically felt, have the power to heal or to hurt. Words do. Those words, especially the ones that hurt and often hurt much worse, can have even greater impact on our lives than sticks and stones ever could. Just because they're unseen doesn't mean they don't have power. This is like what Paul is talking about here in this passage of Scripture when he's talking to the church in Ephesus. Paul was teaching the believers of the day and us this morning that we need to be even more aware of the enemy's tactics and schemes that we don't see to take us away from our focus. That there is an unseen realm of darkness and wickedness that we are actively fighting against simply because we are representatives of the one true and living God. Did you ever think there was a target on your back? There is. He doesn't want you doing anything for him. This is so easy to forget when we're dealing with difficult people, when something tragic happens, and difficult people aren't actually our enemies. You know, you get so frustrated with that guy at work. That guy in the apartment up above. Your neighbor. You fill in the blanks. It's not them. I'm here to remind us to pull back the curtain and consider what force is at work there. Is it the kingdom of darkness, or is it the kingdom of light? This is necessary that we don't lose sight of what's really going on beneath the surface. We have to learn to look with our dominant spiritual eyes so that we can aim with our straight, polished arrows to be able to win the right war. There's lots of battles out there, but God's calling us to win the right war. Don't lose sight of what he's called you here to do. Don't lose focus. Don't get distracted. Stay focused on the right things and stay encouraged, church family. Turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look full in his wonderful face, and the things of this old world will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and grace. Just turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look full in his wonderful face, and the